Thank you for tuning in to the Only Adult in the Room podcast, where nobody here pretends to be an expert in parenting, but maybe we've learned one or two things along the way. My name is Lindsay.
And I'm Susan, and I think somebody's attorney somewhere wants us to say something to the effect of nothing that you're going to hear is to be taken as like therapeutic advice or anything that is directly about you and your particular situation. And if at any point in time you feel like you really do need to talk to somebody, you need to talk to somebody with some licensing and degrees behind their name to be able to do this type.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is our inaugural episode. We've never done this before, and we're thrilled to be here.
Yeah.
And we thought maybe perhaps it would be a good idea to talk about why in the world do we want to do a podcast,
Yeah.
this podcast, any podcast for that matter.
Yeah.
And so, Susan, I would love to hear the reason why you're here doing this podcast.
And I knew you were going to ask me this question, right? So I came prepared with the why behind why the podcast. A, because I don't think I know anything better than anybody else, right? So why am I putting myself out here? But really, it's because I really think we can learn from other people's experiences, and whether or not I take what they say and I implement it or I give it a second thought or something, it's just knowing that somebody else out there has been a mom, maybe as a grandmom or aunt or a trusted person in some child's life, and what they can tell me can inform what I do, right? Or how I think or feel or whatever the case might be. That, and I was the only child, so the idea of parenting, I had no clue what I was getting into because I didn't have littles around me in terms of siblings or growing up or anything. So when I started this, totally clueless. When I say this, I mean the parenting journey with my husband.
Yeah.
And it has been the most amazing thing. And if I would have known what I know now before we started, I don't know, Lindsay. It's amazing we've made it to this point. So why do I want to do this? Because
Yeah.
yeah, just because I think it's a good thing.
No, I think that's beautiful. I can only imagine being an only child and then having multiple children.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Like, I don't know. I can't relate. I have a sibling, but I can imagine that's just weird. I cannot imagine having only one child,
Right.
So,
I just remember thinking when I have children, I will have more than one because I know what it was like to be an only child. While I wouldn't go back and do it differently,
yeah.
I just wanted the whole sibling thing. And I thought three was a cool number because they could like outnumber you and your husband or my husband at the time. It's like, oh, three's good. Okay, three's good. So
Oh.
3 kids, 30 years, 3 kids, and adult children later. We're good.
So fun. So
How about you? I mean, why did you say, hey, let's do this thing?
yeah, so I'm in a little bit of a different place
Okay.
with my parenting journey, but at the end of the day, my kids they are tweeny right now, but they
wow.
were little not that long ago,
Yeah.
and I had absolutely no clue
Yeah.
what I was doing. And given my own experiences, I wish I had a me then who could look me in my face and be like, "You're doing okay."
Yeah.
And that it's not wrong.
Yes.
And I think that parenting in and of itself is just a very difficult thing to do. I mean, people have been doing this for thousands of years. Nobody's cracked the code, and I never pretended to.
Right.
But I just, I like to think I did one or two things right and enough things wrong to say, hey, steer clear of that. And I would like to be that voice for someone
Right.
to, if one person hears my experience and learns from it, then I've succeeded,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of why I'm here.
I totally get that. And as I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I'm older than you, obviously, gray hair, not gray hair.
I have some gray.
Okay, well, you hide it well. But I mean, my kids, they're grown, they're adults and families and of their own and stuff. And so I'm watching adult children in a different, place and space as it relates to being a parent, right?
Yeah.
And as I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, she's got tweens. And then part of my head is like, oh God, tweens. And part of myself is like, oh wow, tweens, that was awesome. I remember when they were that age. It was great. And I always said about my kids, I loved each age and stage that they went through. And because sometimes people come and go, oh, don't you wish they were little again? And I'm like, yeah, no.
Absolutely not.
No,
Diapers?
no, gosh, no. Although diapers are much better now than they were when.
No doubt.
Yeah, okay. But, just thinking about the conversations we're going to have and how the difference in the ages that we are and how parenting is different or was different
Hmm.
when my kids were your age, or whenever, if we have guests on the show, what my kids were like when they were our guest's age or whatever,
Oh yeah.
just kind of cool. Can't wait to see. Can't wait to see where we disagree too. Because I know you
Yeah.
well enough to know, yeah, we're going to disagree on some stuff. And
Maybe.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Occasionally, but I think that speaks to parenting different generations as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And I'm excited to get down to the nitty gritty on some of that stuff, and probably later episodes,
Absolutely.
obviously. But no, I mean, my kids are this weird generation where
Mm-hmm.
technology is everywhere, and perhaps with the ages of your now adult children, they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have as unfettered access to information.
You're like reading my mind, because I was,
Hmm.
as you know, I'm driving and I'm thinking, I'm like, what is the difference? And
Hmm.
I do hope we go into that at some point in time, because there is a huge difference between where your kids are now
Yeah.
and where and when technology came into the parenting role or time for us
Yeah.
with our kids, because our child number 1 is almost 30,
Hmm.
and child number 3 is 24. So child number 3 was like a mid-teen, I think, like
Hmm.
right around the time that the first iPhones come out.
Gotcha.
And we talk about this as a family, like, how has technology impacted your life, right? And they're like, what do you mean, how did it impact our life? We had one TV in the house. I mean, because, when our kids were little, we made a very conscious decision to limit technology as we knew it
Hmm.
in the role. So nobody had a TV in their bedroom. There was one TV in the whole house, and if anybody was going to watch anything, it's all or nobody. Kind of. There
Yeah.
was no personal device in that sense, and same thing with computers.
Hmm.
But as the kids got older, I mean, the kids had the little slide phones, they had the flip phones. So you
Yeah.
remember, maybe you don't remember, you are younger than I am, but the texting and things like
Yeah.
that with
I remember those
Okay,
days.
okay,
Yeah.
good. You're making me feel better. But yeah, I mean, just technology right off the bat, completely different than
Yeah.
what you have to deal with now. So how do
Absolutely.
you handle technology with your
Oh
kiddos?
gosh, it's interesting, weird, fun at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
I have uh kid number 2 of
Yeah.
mine is very technologically savvy.
Mm-hmm.
She's very interested in all things tech. We have gone to links to both introduce her to and give her access to technology. I mean, she has a whole gaming setup in her bedroom and things like that, but
Mm-hmm.
with limitations.
Yeah.
I think everything that we've done is with limitations.
Right.
But then kid number 1, she's just like, I don't need all of that, Mom. I have my phone,
Right.
which I'm all in her business when
Right.
it comes to that phone.
Ah.
But she's asked for like a record player, right? So
Oh,
she's
analog, old school.
yeah,
Love
so
it.
she's a different girl when
Yeah.
it comes to technology. So we've really it's case by case,
Mm-hmm.
but like I said, I think everything comes with limitations.
Right.
And I when I say I'm in their business, they hand me their phones, I look in them. I control their technology from my technology. It makes life a lot easier that way.
Right.
I know when I was a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
and technology was emerging to be a bit more like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
My parents didn't have those kind of parental controls, and perhaps I had access to more information than I should have at that age.
Right.
So I'm trying to learn from my experiences and
Sure.
protect my kids in that way. Our conversation right now is kind of lending itself to a question I had for you too,
Okay. Cool.
which is. Given everything you know today,
Mm-hmm.
would you say parenting now is better or parenting, I don't know, you said your oldest is almost 30,
Yeah.
so or is 30.
Yeah.
What do you think? Which one's better?
Parenting now is way harder. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, and I'm like, yeah, it's harder. No, I really do. I think it is harder because there are things that parents have to contend with now that when I was raising, our kids were young. I say I like I did it by myself. My husband's very, very engaged. Great, great, great dad. We just didn't have to worry about, and
Yeah.
it wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same. We were Gen X. We were kind of like feral when, us growing up, we were that way.
Yeah.
That's kind of, that was very natural for us. And now there's so much information coming at parents, right? And there's so much community and civic and institutional and organizational supports that because we are as a society as we are that don't seem to embrace families the same way that you used to be able to gather what the family norm or not the family norm, but the cultural norm is, right?
Yeah.
And so I think some of those supports that we had, both raising our families or that we experienced as children growing up that we can remember, might not play the same kind of role that they used to play. And I think back on that and think, oh my gosh, what would it have been like raising kids if, my school didn't support this or that or the other. So, and I really think that's like one of those places where, well, you parented your kids starting 30 years ago. Yeah, things were different. Absolutely.
Right.
So how do I give good, I'm just in awe of parents. There's so much. And the
Yeah.
expectations of parents seems to be a little bit different too.
Yeah.
Seem to be much more engaged in their children's lives than I remember having my parents engaged in my life. And I
Right.
remember being engaged with our kiddos. So,
Yeah.
what do you think?
You bring up some very interesting points that actually brought me to a place that I recently spoke with my own sibling
Mm-hmm.
about.
Mm-hmm.
His children are younger than mine, and so he's experiencing these frustrations at a different time even than I am. I mean, 8, 9 years ago, even parenting was different, right? So, um, you speak on cultural norms or community norms for
Mm-hmm.
parents,
Mm-hmm.
and I think at least my experience growing up with
Mm-hmm.
my parents is that there was a village
Mm-hmm.
wrapped around my brother and I,
Mm-hmm.
where we had a grandparent or even a great grandparent that we spent a lot of time with, and I think, and this is not to say my parents aren't present. I
Right.
have been blessed with two parents who want to be very present in their
Mm-hmm.
grandkids' lives. And my husband would say the same of his parents, but I think the village looks different.
Yeah.
I think people are building villages of folks that have common interest rather than necessarily leaning to family.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, folks are getting parenting information from so many different places.
Mm-hmm.
Completely agree. I think as I'm watching friends and family of mine, again, with young children who are going through this journey
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, the places they're getting information, I mean, just are varied between churches, online, YouTube
Mm-hmm.
videos, maybe the odd person that they see in a waiting room that has a kid the same age, and then
Right.
they've taken advice from them.
Right.
And so it's just, it's interesting. My village, I would say, is small,
Yeah.
but we're mighty in
Right.
that I think we're raising some really good kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, was our village small? Yes. But still different time period,
Yep.
and it just is a little bit different. And, I think as I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about all the thoughts in my head, meta thinking about thinking, it's like, why do you and I think that what we have is going to appeal to anybody, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what is it? What is it about you and I that we have like, yeah, we can do this. We can give some information about it.
I think, and you and I have talked about this a bit, I think that we have this ability, you and I both, this is where we're the same,
Right.
is that I think we've studied some things and we've had some experiences outside of the framework of parenting or teaching children or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And I think both of us can tap into that information as well as tapping into the information from our life experiences and being moms
Yeah.
and just talk about that. I think in the universe of parenting, being a mom,
Mm-hmm.
other than what we're surrounded by, it doesn't change.
Yeah, good
You're
point.
still there to raise a child to be hopefully a productive member of society one
Absolutely.
day, whatever society
Yes.
looks like.
Yes, yes.
And so why do I think people will listen? I am under no illusion that a million people will listen to us,
Right.
but I hope one does.
Yes.
Like I said, my why is if one person learns one thing from us, then we have absolutely succeeded.
Right.
Like I said, I think we're not experts. No. We never claim to be. Nope. But we've done one or two things that I think we could share with other folks.
Yeah. I love how you say we're not experts because you could ask my 3 children and they'd be like,
Right.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, you're not an expert, Mom. But we think you did the best you could. Thank you.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better. But, listening to people's stories, listening to why they do what they do, or how they parent the way they parent, or how or why they think what they think, I think is so insightful in the things that we see in our other things that we do.
Right.
And when you reference, we've studied a few things, we've learned a few things. Yeah, okay, yes, we have. And considering that and putting it all together, like, okay, right. And the one thing I see in the different spaces that I end up being in is that feeling of being alone, like I am the only person who is struggling with my child having a tantrum. And I just want to be like, no, darling, you're not.
Right.
We've been there. It's okay. And I can only imagine how it feels to be a parent of a young child or a young parent right now, and the temper tantrums and all the things that we see, right?
Yeah.
And how judged they might feel in the moment because,
Yeah.
in a moment, kiddos having the temper tantrum, the adults probably having a temper tantrum on the inside,
Yep.
and just like, how do I handle the thing?
Yeah.
And there's just that, that you want to go up and hug them, say, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Promise you, it's going to be okay. And there's also I'm not going to lie, there's parts of me that just kind of sit back and laugh and be like, okay, I don't think you want to keep doing that,
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. I just don't want people, moms and dads, or whoever's raising the kids, to think that they're alone in this. Even in those darkest times or those most difficult times, there are people who've been through this
Absolutely.
and have got your back and willing to give you some advice, maybe step in. I don't know what people are willing to do. It seems like
Yeah.
everybody's willing to talk about something nowadays. So maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
I mean, talk about podcasting.
Yeah,
Everybody's
right.
going to talk about
Everybody's going to
something.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say, listen, world, everybody has football carried their child from a public place. Everybody has. And if you did it yesterday or you have not done it yet, your time will come. And every other adult in that space is thinking, man, I remember the last time I did that. So, like, don't be embarrassed. You know, Susan was saying, like, we're feeling for you because we've been there. And sometimes I wish I could football carry my 12-year-old out of a public space, and I just don't have the strength for that anymore. But it'll be okay. You're doing your best, and
Absolutely.
we're proud.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah. It's hard
we
sharing
are.
too, because child number 1 and child number 2 were like right under like 2 years apart.
Oh yeah.
And they did the thing. They did the
Yes.
boy thing. And there's a couple of times where we left the cart full of groceries at the Walmart, at Walmart, because I just wasn't gonna.
Yeah.
And it wasn't gonna end pretty if we didn't leave the space. So
Exactly.
if you've had one of those days, like Lindsay said, we've been there. We've done the thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Susan, I have another question for you that I thought was really interesting.
Cool.
And it's, what, if anything, would you like to erase parenting tactics or style wise from the collective consciousness tomorrow? Like, let's not do that anymore.
Okay. Okay, this is probably going to be, you're just like going in for the jugular
I
here.
am, I'm
Like,
sorry.
okay, no, it's fair. It's fair. Again, raising kids, knowing what I know, realizing the end goal here is how to raise little people to become the kind of people you want to sit beside on a long flight on an airplane, right? They've got to be able to get along with other people. I think for me, the thing I'd love to erase around is that parents can't not have boundaries for children. And what boundaries look like for children depends on the age of the child. And really, it's not boundaries for children, it's boundaries for the adults.
Yes.
In the lives of the children. It's a little complicated like that. So maybe this idea, we're going to get hate. We're going to have 3 people sending hate comments on here. The concept of gentle parenting scares me, because I don't know if people really understand what gentle parenting is. I mean, I can see where it could go off in a certain tangent, but knowing what I know about child development, children need structure, and children need to understand that we have boundaries, and we have boundaries because we have to learn how to be little people in the world.
Wow.
You don't come out of the womb knowing how to handle all of the emotions and all of the things. You've got to be taught.
Yes.
And so, I can spot a kiddo who hasn't had some boundaries in his or her life pretty quick.
Yeah.
But, there's also some kiddos that haven't had that, but on the average, that would be like my big thing.
Yeah.
Technology would be a second conversation, but that's that's different.
Different day,
Different.
different
I don't
episode.
know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What about you? What would you?
I completely agree with you on gentle parenting. I admit right here, right now, openly to the world, I am not a gentle parent.
Neither was I, and I have 3 adult children that are pretty
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Yeah. But a close second, or maybe an equal, is something that I struggled with growing up and have not done with my children, is this forced or feigned respect moment, right? The yes ma'ams, no ma'ams,
Oh,
yes
okay.
sirs, no
Gotcha.
sirs.
Gotcha, gotcha.
You must hug the adults in the room
Oh,
when you
okay.
leave the room,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. I feel like if we force people into this, and children are people, if we
Yeah.
force them into this feigned, false respect place just because someone is older than you, I think there should be respect for elders. But I think that we eliminate the ability for children to freely think in opposition sometimes to
Interesting.
folks around them simply because they're their senior.
Right.
I don't like to argue with my kids, but I do like to give them space to tell me they disagree.
Yeah, but probably I'm imagining you know you and your husband, y'all worked up to that point.
We did.
You said you didn't start off like letting the 3-year-old back talk you or 5-year-old back
Absolutely not.
so
Yeah,
yeah, as the children hit that stage in their development where they can comprehend what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm a little different.
Yeah.
Surprise. Grew up in the South, grew up in Alabama for the majority of my developmental years.
Right.
And one of those things that I kind of get called out at my age is I still, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. That is just something that is ingrained in me
Yeah.
that we passed on to our kids. Not that if they didn't say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am, or whatever, that they would get in trouble. That was never the case. It was just something we did, something they picked up vicariously. And it
Right.
is something that they continue on to do. Child number 2 probably more so than child number 1 or 3 now that I think about it. So I guess they're
Gotcha.
kind of getting their own kind of thing. So, but it wasn't something where, my husband and I are laying in bed at night going, yes, we're going to make sure they say yes. Is this no,
Yeah.
that wasn't the deal. We did our thing. They saw us doing the thing and they carried it through. Were they respectful? If, yes, we try to instill in respect in that.
Yeah.
And respect can be shown in many, many different ways, right? Again, it kind of goes back to what's the culture of the family, because there are some
Absolutely.
families that are very much, this is what you do. And then there are some families that, especially I've noticed, like those that come from the North or some other place, not the South, they're like, no, we don't say that. But,
Yeah.
I don't ever look and go, oh yeah, your kids they're doomed. You don't say yes or no, sir. Or,
Yeah.
not that. It's just an interesting,
Yeah.
perspective.
I was one of those hybrid kids. So I had one parent from the North, one parent from the South. My parent from the North was, I think, less inclined to expect us to have
Right.
those kinds of responses.
Right.
Whereas my parent from the South was like, do I hear a yes, sir, no, sir, kind of a thing. And I think for me, that's why I want to get rid of it.
Right.
Because I was made to make those responses whether I agreed or not.
See, now I'm like thinking about it. With me growing, I don't remember being made to do it. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody ever said you must. I think it was in just something, given my parents' lines of it was just something that was there.
Yeah.
So maybe it was because of when I was raised, my husband and I were raised, or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah,
Could be.
could be. It doesn't faze me one way or the other if someone does or doesn't say.
I gotcha.
It's, I think, the intent of the conversation and again that boundary of respect that we show. That's a pretty. I'm gonna have some quiet thinking moments on the ride home
Yes.
there. So
I had some quiet thinking moments getting ready to talk about this, and I was just like, if I were going to do away with anything, it sounds strange,
No.
but as I look, my not my parents, my children will say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am to me when they know that I'm very serious about something.
so they're learning to read the room, so to speak.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I've never
Yeah.
made them say
Yeah.
it because
Yeah.
it just, I don't know, something makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
And if you, again, you can be in a group of kids, and I mean, I'm talking young kids here, youngers, that those that's the expectation. You know,
Yep.
their child care center, if they go to a child care center or school, might think or
Yep.
pr- promote doing that type of thing in the conversation, and might not. It just depends. Um, Again, intent means a lot, and
Yep.
it's really hard to get mad at a 4-year-old and say, "Why didn't you say yes, ma'am, or no,
Right.
ma'am?" But there are those people,
There
you
are.
know. So,
Yep.
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
What would you share? What advice would you share to like the brand new mom? I'm talking about the mom where the baby is not even just like a month old.
Oh, that is such a good
First
question.
mom, first time mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first time new baby mom.
Yeah.
Everything you thought you knew
Mhm.
before giving birth, or you thought you wanted to do before giving birth, if it changed, it's okay.
Mm.
I personally
Mhm.
was like, I am going to be the crunchiest of crunchy moms. I had a whole stockpile of cloth diapers, and
Oh,
I was
I'm
going
so glad you
to.
did that too.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm talking, I went to trunk sales and bought them. I had probably 50 of them. I was ready to do that laundry on its own. I was going to exclusively breastfeed. I was going to make my own baby food. And then she came about 6 weeks early. And she didn't fit into a single cloth diaper I had purchased. And I said, it's okay. We'll put her in preemie disposables until the time comes. And then I couldn't breastfeed the way that I wanted to. And then I used my very first cloth diaper when she was about 2 months old, and it smelled so bad that I was like, I'm not doing anything I plan to do. I'm just going to make sure I keep her alive.
Yeah.
And that's where I was for a while. And I wanted to be disappointed in myself.
Right.
You know, you spill the breast milk that you did manage to pump, and now you have to feed your baby formula.
Yeah.
You didn't fail as a mother.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and there were definitely moments where I was like, everything I had planned, I failed at. And today, looking back, I laugh at myself sometimes, and I'm like, my biggest concern was if they were going potty on fabric or paper at this point, you know. And today, my concerns are vastly different, and everything I've ever had planned for my kids on a dime has had to change.
Right.
And I think a new mom needs to know that it is either okay for it to fail or okay for you to just simply go, I don't think I want to do that anymore.
Right. Right.
Because it is.
Right. And it's like, do you, as a first time mom, do you even know what you're doing?
No.
No, you have no clue. You haven't done this before, right? So
No,
give
yeah.
yourself some grace and some credit. And I can remember, because I did the cloth diaper. Oh, we're going to do cloth diaper things.
Yeah.
I can remember my mother going, Susan, Melody, what are you thinking? And I'm like, well, I use cloth diapers with me. She's like, yeah, we had a diaper service. We lived up in New York City, and
Yeah.
it was convenient. And you were born when you were born, and that's what you know. And I'm like, oh. She's like, yeah, I don't think that's going to work very long. I mean, she wasn't rude about it. She's like, okay, if you want, you know. And yeah, she's right. It lasted like a week or something like that. And I'm like, give me the Pampers. Come on.
No doubt. I had one cousin who was a champion. She called me and she said, oh my gosh, I don't have to lecture you on cloth diapers. I'm so excited. And then when she found out I wasn't doing cloth diapers, she was like, well, to each their own.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's nice, right? To make you feel bad.
Yeah.
That is huge. Gosh.
Yeah.
Giving, I mean, we say moms, but dads too.
Oh, yes.
Give yourself some grace and credit, because most likely this is your first, right? And even if it's your second or your third, the kid's completely different, and your life circumstances are completely different than each time. So each day is that new experience that you're having to navigate through, and there is no one right way to parent, right? There's just the way you're parenting, and those actions and those things that you focus on will have consequences in the end.
For sure.
And consequences isn't like a negative thing. People say consequences negative. No, man, you do this movement's going to happen with it, you know, or you it's just a natural piece of parenting. So every decision you make, every whatever, be bold and strong in your decisions, and be okay with it.
And learn along the way.
Oh my gosh, yes, and learn along the way. Did you keep a diary or anything, or like journals whenever your kiddos were little, or pictures or anything?
No, and now pictures and videos, don't look at my cell phone. But a diary, no. And, you know, looking back, maybe I wish I had. There are so many so many things my kids did that
Yeah.
I'm like, gosh, if I had just written this down. But no, I didn't.
Okay.
I'm assuming you asked because you did?
Oh gosh, no, not that disciplined. Nah. And this will give you a clue of how technology changes. For child number 1 and 2, we have lots of printed out pictures.
Gotcha.
But child number 3 comes back, brings significant other, you know, and they're like, "Where are our pictures?" And we're like, "On a disc somewhere or here on the phone." So
Yep.
I mean that's that range of everything. But no, I didn't. And the reason why I ask is like because the act of parenting is so in the moment. It's so
Yes.
emotionally charged that it's really hard to unless one is really intentional to stop, have some retrospect, go back and see the progress and the changes
Mm-hmm.
that have happened or that you've made. And I don't have that.
Yeah.
I can tell you I did one thing. I do have a journal, book, diary, whatever you want to call it, notebook, where I listed out all the toys that we were buying for child number 1 before the birth of the baby. I still
Yeah.
have that. There are 4 pages written in that journal. So that book is almost 30 years old, has 4 pages of stuff, and that's it. And I never did it for another child. That is the only, like, other than looking at my actual child and saying, ooh, husband and I did the best we could. And this kiddo is,
Mm-hmm.
is, brilliant. All 3 kiddos we can do that with, but that's the only thing I can look at tangentially. I didn't keep a lot of baby stuff.
Yeah.
You've got some families that are just like these beautiful archivists of like the story of their kiddos. I have a blanket of each of one of them, and there's one thing that each one of them had. I'm just not a collector in that sense of the word. Lots of old books because I love some old books. Love my kids too. I just didn't collect all their stuff, and I feel a little. I think like, oh,
Yeah.
I wish I would have done that. But
I think you and I are very similar in that respect, though. I have heirloom clothing that we put our kids in, but they still carry around their blankets and bunnies and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, not an archivist, and
Yeah.
I live in the moment, so
Yeah.
I'm really bad at pictures these days. But it's because
Absolutely.
I'm making memories.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely right. So like our postings and stuff, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I forgot to take a picture of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there's a few things right now I'm thinking, oh man, we didn't take pictures of that, but that's okay. So just kind of knowing what kind of time we have left on everything,
Sure.
and we talked about, living in the moment and recording and memories and evidence and all that kind of fun stuff. I am wondering, is there a word or a phrase that you remember still to this day
Mm-hmm.
that your kiddos, you know?
Yes.
Yes, just
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Okay. What is that?
So,
If you want to share.
of course, kid number 1 and
Yeah.
I actually had an in-depth conversation about many of these things recently, and there is a lot to choose from. But I think our family and extended family through friends, our favorite one is that kid number 1. Up until she was about 3 years old, she referred to lotion as Showway. Showway. No clue where it came from. Don't know why she named it that, because she did, essentially. But we knew it was lotion she was asking for,
Cool.
because she would ask to smell the Showway. She would ask if you had Showway on your skin, all of that. And her ringtone on my phone is actually a recording of me going low, and she would say low, and I'd say shun, and she'd go, yeah, Showway. And then one day she asked me for Locious, and the rest was
Love
history.
Love it.
So
Love
yeah,
it. Okay.
do you have a similar?
I do. We've always loved what we call $5 words in our family. So if it could be said in a very brief 1-syllable word, let's see the 5 other words that have 14 syllables that we can also teach our kids, because I know kids love to be able to use big words. And so kid number 1, coming true to form to him, I think he was like, I don't know, it's like a choice moment in his life. And I remember him kind of looking at the things that he could choose from and looking up at us and saying, I feel a bit conflictuous.
Ooh.
And I'm like, is that a conflictuous? Is that a real word? I don't know. I think it should be. I like that word.
Yeah.
And it was a word that we adopted, right? So it
Yeah.
became like our family word whenever we were having these hard moments, or we had hard moments that were funny or, just kind of silly. So it kind of just took a flavor of whatever it was.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the first word. That was the first of many words that that kiddo number one did for us and introduced us to. But it was because, love of language, love of big words, and just
Yeah.
proof that kiddos embrace and adopt kind of what goes on in the family. So I like that. I'll have to
Yeah.
remember the whole lotion thing. I won't look at lotion again
No,
the same way.
you will constantly buy Shoei.
Shoei,
Yeah.
Shoei.
Conflictuous, for anybody who's a fan of Wicked,
Uh-huh.
myself included,
Uh-huh.
they have fantastical words
Uh-huh.
like that. So instead of being obsessed, they say obsessulated. So
Obsessulated,
so
obsessulated.
kid
Okay.
number one of yours
Okay.
could absolutely be up there with the writers of movies
Absolutely.
with that word.
Absolutely. Well, Lindsay,
Yeah,
it has really been cool
I think
getting
so too.
to spend. I learned a lot about you. I mean, I've known you for a while, but I got
Yeah,
to learn a few more things about you and really just kind of jumping into embracing what does it mean to be the only adult in the room.
absolutely.
And, we didn't really talk about the name, but have you ever felt like you were the only adult in the room, literally or figuratively, metaphorically?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Literally been the only adult in the room many a time.
Yeah.
But sometimes, especially when you're watching other people struggle, you're
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna step in and be the grown up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's really cool that you feel comfortable doing that.
yeah,
There are days when I don't feel comfortable doing that. There are some days where, oh yeah, I don't care if
Yeah.
they don't want me there or not. We're fixing to be the only adult in the room.
Yeah.
Something I can work on. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Because we're not done parenting and we're not done
Nope,
growing and changing too. So,
nope.
all right.
We got many moons to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I look forward to spending some more time with you.
Absolutely.
All right. Any idea of some other things we've got coming up?
Oh gosh. Well, we do. I think we might be welcoming a guest on our next episode.
Really? Okay, great.
So we'll
Okay.
talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
With them. Well, parenting, not that, but parenting with that person.
Okay.
And I think more to come.
Okay.
Is the best I can say, unless you've got something.
I don't have anything, but I would love if we have any viewers or listeners or followers, but beyond my mom and my other friends, all two of them. If there's anything you want us to cover in the podcast, any special guests or any topics that you're interested in, please, just shoot us some, I don't know, emails or something, because they'll have all that information in the show notes. But we would love to be able to address some of the things that you might be concerned about in your stage in parenting right now. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, with all of that said, you guys, thank you so much for joining us for our very first episode of The Only Adult in the Room. And we hope you will join us again in a conversation about what it means to be that only adult in this room.